We're building machines to talk with us. And they still feel wrong. The instinct is to treat that as an engineering problem. Lower the latency. Sharpen the model. Add a barge-in handler. But there's a deeper question engineers rarely ask. What is a conversation, actually? Not as a protocol, as a human act. Because before you teach a machine to converse, you need a theory of what conversing is. And the most useful theories were written decades before the transformer. By linguists, anthropologists, and economists who never imagined a language model. 5 ideas. None of them about AI. All of them about how humans actually communicate. Idea 1. And this is the important one. Conversation carries tacit knowledge. Friedrich Hayek, The Use of Knowledge in Society, 1945. Hayek's about economics. But his core idea is this. The most valuable knowledge isn't the general kind you can write in a textbook. It's the knowledge of the particular circumstances of time and place. Implicit, local, dispersed across millions of people, and impossible to centralize or fully put into words. Conversation runs on exactly this. That this pause means hesitation, and that one means a finished thought. That a clipped tone means wrap it up. None of it is in a rulebook. It's tacit, learned by being there. So a system that only has the explicit layer, the transcript, the instructions, is missing the very thing that makes conversation work. Hayek tells us why you can't write down how to converse. The essential knowledge is, by its nature, unwritable. Here's the twist in 2026. That unwritable knowledge, the meetings, the workshops, the discussion around the decision, is exactly what voice agents now quietly record. The thing Hayek said could never be centralized is becoming a database. The unwritable, finally written down. Idea 2. Conversation is participatory. Walter Ong, Orality and Literacy, 1982. Ong draws a line between the literate mind and the oral mind. Writing is reflective, solitary, fixed. The text sits still while you study it. Speech is the opposite. Participatory, additive, alive. Speaker and listener co-produce meaning in real time, the utterance shaped by the listener's reaction as it happens. So a chatbot, however fluent, operates in the literate mode. It produces a finished block and hands it over. Real conversation is oral. The gap to cross isn't faster text. It's the jump from literacy to orality. Idea 3. Conversation is grounded. Clark and Brennan, 1991. Grounding in communication. They ask how two people build common ground, the shared understanding that lets them mean the same thing. And it leans on 3 properties. Co-presence. Both parties engaged with the same object, at the same moment. You point at the thing. I see the thing you point at. We share a context, not just words. Immediacy. Feedback is instant. A nod, a nichem, lands while you're still speaking. So you adjust mid-sentence, instead of finding the misunderstanding a paragraph later. Synchronicity. Input and output at the same time. I can listen and react at once. I don't wait for you to finish before I begin. And here's the indictment. Turn-based chat has none of the 3. No shared live object. Feedback only after a whole turn. One direction at a time. By their own criteria, a chatbot is a low-grounding medium. Closer to exchanging letters than to talking. Idea 4. Conversation is a skill, not a procedure. James Scott, Seeing Like a State, 1998. Scott gives that unwritable knowledge a name. Metis. Practical wisdom. The intuitive know-how for messy, uncertain situations no formal scheme fully captures. His villains are the grand rational schemes that fail, because they flatten local, tacit reality into legible categories, and lose what mattered. Conversational competence is metis. When to interrupt. When to stay silent. When a pause is an invitation, versus a handover. Skills built by experience. Not procedures run from a spec. And that's where voice systems fail. They try to script metis, hard-coded silence thresholds, rule-based endpointing. And they produce exactly the brittle, slightly wrong behavior Scott warns about. You can't proceduralize practical wisdom. Idea 5. So you can't script it. You train it. Rich Sutton, The Bitter Lesson, 2019. The observation that, again and again, general methods that leverage computation eventually crush specialized, human-engineered systems. And researchers keep painfully relearning it, because hand-built knowledge feels like progress. Apply it here. Every hand-engineered tone detector, every tune's silence threshold, is exactly the clever human-designed approach the bitter lesson says we'll lose. The tacit, metis-laden knowledge of how to converse isn't something you encode. It's something a general model learns from data, at scale. The theory says conversation can't be written down. The bitter lesson says, good. So don't. Train it. Now stack the 5, and a single argument falls out. Real conversation needs co-presence, immediacy, synchronicity, Clark and Brennan. Because it's oral and participatory, not literate and finished. Ong. And it runs on tacit, in the moment knowledge that can't be centralized, Hayek. Which makes it a metis. Practical wisdom, not a procedure, Scott. So it can't be hand-scripted. It has to be learned by a general model at scale, Sutton. And that's the conceptual case for treating interaction itself as a trained capability. Not a UX layer bolted onto a pipeline. The machines aren't chasing faster text. They're reaching for the oral, grounded, tacit thing humans have always done. So here's the one slide. Conversation is grounded, oral, tacit, and a metis, for reasons it resists the pipeline. And one conclusion from the bitter lesson. You don't script it. You train it. The theory was written by linguists, anthropologists, and economists, decades before the transformer. They were describing, without knowing it, exactly what a voice agent has to become. We have always known what conversation is. We're finally building machines that have to learn it.